Hi, my name is Alyssa and I like to watch movies. And today we are talking about A24's new horror comedy, Y2K. I did not live through the Y2K panic simply because I was a baby with no concept of time, but phenomenons like this are not unusual. I mean, go back to COVID-19 when everyone was panic buying toilet paper. Or I can't think of another one. If you can think of another panic phenomenon that went on in like the recent last 20 years, let me know. But this is the way humans work. We get fixated on a conspiracy and we go, okay, this is real. We're gonna die. And I think those moments in life are ripe to make fun of in a 90-minute feature-long movie. Y2K is about an unlikely group of kids coming together to solve this Y2K problem that actually happened. For those who may not know what the Y2K problem is or the Y2K scare, it refers to systems being unable to distinguish the year 2000 from 1900, mainly because a lot of programs represent the year with the final two digits, and so it like double zero is just like, oh, I don't know what that is. And somehow this would lead to a bug that would cause the infrastructure built on computers to absolutely just fail. This is bad when everything is being built on the computer system. It would be even worse today, let me tell you. And why this conspiracy theory might sound like a little bizarre, guys, remember, people love to be scared. And some people really thought this was gonna happen. Like, they started to hoard money and food in anticipation of like the apocalypse. They really thought it was gonna be Terminator 2 Judgment Day out there. But most people knew that nothing was gonna happen. And so they're just kind of like, harump, it's a fun joke, yes. But Kyle Mooney said, what if it actually happened? And this is how we get Y2K. Also, guys, we are almost 500 subscribers strong. Thank you. If you are not yet subscribed, I would really love it if you could help us reach the goal of 500 before the end of the year, because you know the world ends on New Year's Eve, and this is what I want to go out on. Y2K is essentially writer and director Kyle Mooney's what if story of what would actually happen if the world did end on January 1st, 2000, right at 12:01. I'm a big fan of a what if story. They're kind of great simply because it gives a writer the opportunity to go revisit a time in history and change the outcome. Tarantino does it all the time. And so does Riverdale. I love Riverdale. Are you kidding me? I will never get over that last season. That was some high art. Despite its incredibly small scope, Y2K is a standout for me simply because it shows that stoner comedies have a place in modern cinema. With his dazed and confused nostalgia tapping, Mooney has really taken us back to the year 2000 in a way that feels extremely relatable and extremely lived in, at least to a person who can only look back at that year with like a childlike nostalgia. Mooney's entry point into this world is through the classic archetype in any 2000s movie. That's right, I'm talking about the shy nerd. Stop me if you've heard this story before. The shy nerd is deeply in love and is pining after the most popular girl in school and is trying to seal his fate with her and save the day. It's a very bland, very archetypey story. It's very tropey. We know the beats. We know the happy ending situation. Yes, if you don't, watch more movies. It's a tried and true story that really fits into any genre. And I'm not gonna knock Mooney for it. When you're making an indie feature, the idea is to get people interested in the concept, and that's what this is. The concept is super solid. The familiarity of the story beats is there. Also, there's like this peak nostalgia right now for the year 2000 and like 2005. Guys, why do we want to go back? Was it a good time? Did we all have fun? There's also a ton of familiar faces throughout this entire story. So anytime you feel like you're getting bored, you go, oh, I know this person. All of this is to say that it's a very easy, uncomplicated movie that you can really go full smooth brain mode with. So why spend time chatting about like a new stoner comedy movie with you? Well, let me tell you. You know I love a mini major release. A24, hi. I like movies that look a little cheap, but they're like really striving to make something good. Movies like this often don't have a really big budget to do major CGI effects with, so they have to really go practical. And let me tell you, there are some kills in this movie that are done practically and they're so good. You can actually see characters get their limbs chopped off or have someone get nailed to death. Get your mind out of the gutters, you guys. You know what I mean. I also feel like practical effects are really great for like the cast and everything because they actually get to interact with these moments that are happening on screen and see like the brutality of it all. I was having a conversation with a friend who does animation work about CGI and why it feels so flat most of the time in movies. And they were saying that a big problem is that like people from writers to directors to studio execs don't really know how to work with CGI artists or what really goes into making something. So they try to change it so late in the game when you only have so much time to make things work. And oftentimes you get pretty, I really appreciate that Mooney didn't take the CGI route simply because of like the aesthetic of the film, which is like firmly right before the big CGI boom in Hollywood, or because he just didn't have the time or the budget or the experience to make it look really good, because it really made this movie what it needed to be, I think. Is this movie gonna win any awards? No. No. This is like not a particularly dense story. But to be fair, I think there's a lot of like dilly-dallying in this movie, but I can look past it because it is like right under 90 minutes. Guys, bring it back. I need more of it, please. And also, anytime I felt my attention wandering a little bit, they were like, here's a random cameo to get you like squealing in the seat. Or here's a great kill. Or here's one of these like orchestra swelling moments that we're just gonna make absolutely iconic by throwing into the mix. Even when I was like scripting out the recap for this movie, I couldn't really find any moments in it that I thought could have been tighter or expanded on to make this movie better, because it is exactly what it wants to be, and I love that. I love that it knows its identity and is so firmly true to it. With all that said, I think we should just get into the plot, yes? Okay, so we're getting into spoiler territory. I'm about to break down the entire plot for Y2K. If you want to watch this movie, it is still in theaters. I think it should be hitting streaming literally like 5 days after New Year's. So but that's your spoiler warning. And if you're still here, then let's get into me yapping about how Y2K is real. The movie starts in any way that most early 2000s period pieces start, with some good old-fashioned dial-up internet, AOL chats, and the then president Bill Clinton announcing how Y2K is not gonna happen. Guys, what is it? It's just a scare. It's just a conspiracy. It's QAnon at its best. It's QAnon pre-QAnon. And that, my friend, is what we're also calling Chekhov's gun. Eli, who is played by Jaden Martell, who was, yes, in It Chapter 1, that's how you know him, by the way, is a junior in high school who is just a little bit nerdy and is trying to kiss the prettiest girl at his school, who also happens to be really good at computers. After downloading his badass Y2K mix, hopefully not from LimeWire, am I right, you guys? Eli heads over to his bestie Danny's house, but first, guys, he has to say bye to his parents, and yes, his mom is late 90s sweetheart Alicia Silverstone. We love it. We love a cameo. And apparently everyone's going out tonight, and they are simply not worried about Y2K. They're like, that's a lie. That is just a conspiracy theory that we do not believe in. Eli is on his bike, and he's riding over to Danny's house, and he passes their school, and he knows that they're putting in new internet. Okay, now we're building the blocks. Now we're building the setting. At Danny's house, Eli presents his friend with the last doll that they need for their replica of the 70s show cast. Everyone needs a hobby. And it's a Kelso doll, which, you know, sure, not my favorite character in there. The show is hard to go back to. Let's be honest, some of the characters that we like are not good people. Eli also tells Denny to stop putting condoms under his pillow like he's some kind of tooth fairy. And Denny is just like, bro, I am manifesting for you. And these boys are like your typical like real life nerd where they're just like sports managers at their high school and they like TV. Like they're just like super casual kids that just like are a little bit weird and quirky and shy. They don't have social skills, and that's what makes them a nerd. So the boys' plans for this New Year's evening is to watch a movie. The boys go to their local video store managed by Garrett, the local stoner, who's really just like cruising for good vibes. And I love that for him. He's also played by the writer-director of this movie. And I'm like, good for you, stay booked and busy. In the adult section of the video store, Garrett gets high with Danny. And Eli is like, how dare you? How dare you do this at my birthday party?
And you did it at my birthday dinner.
But they leave with the 1994 classic movie, Junior. You know, the movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant. What was Arnold doing? You know what? I like what Arnold was doing. He's doing better than The Rock. He's making choices, and I can appreciate that. After leaving the video store, the boys run into their local wannabe rap gang led by Farkas. And we get a very uncomfortable rap scene, which my partner, who was more present about time and things happening in the year 2000, was like, yeah, that was kind of the norm. The boys run into their local convenience store, and Eli finds his crush is there. He's like, Laura, what are you doing here? Laura is played by Ms. Rachel Zegler, and boy howdy, does she look like she's seen a smartphone. I really do feel like this movie kind of rests on her shoulders simply because she's like the biggest name in it. At the convenience store, Laura tells Eli that there is a party at Soccer Chris's house that night. She also informs him a little fun fact that she broke up with her college boyfriend. Laura's friends are playing a game of quick, grab as much beer as you can and run. That was one of my favorite games to play in college. Thank you, Gary Target. May college kids continue to steal from you forever. I mean, stealing is bad. Back at Danny's house, the kids are watching Junior, and there's like, this kind of sucks. Like we're really looking like nerds. Why don't we get up and go to the New Year's party and get kissed and maybe use a condom? So the boys bike over to Soccer Chris's house for the New Year's party. And while they're there, they're kind of like not having a good time. They're like trying to fit in. It's a little bit awkward for them. They're just like, we're the odd ducks out. But then the music stops. And Danny looks at Eli and he's like, dude, the badass Y2K mix. So Eli puts it in, and you guys, I was so scared. I was like, oh no, what is it gonna play? And believe it or not, I was shocked to what I heard. Would you believe that the thong song came on? And I immediately was like, whoa, This is a classy establishment. Danny is dancing and singing along to the song, and the crowd goes fucking wild for it. Eli's fading into the background, but Danny is popping off. He's just like, ooh, ooh. Thong 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 thong. Eli does find Laura and they're chit-chatting a little bit, but then fucking Soccer Chris swoops in and he's like, Mr. Steal Your Girl. And Eli's like, what the f, dude? I'm right here. Unfortunately, Denny's also flirting it up with a girl, and when Eli tries to like integrate into the conversation, Denny's like, I have a really funny story about the time I peed in Eli's Pepsi and he drank it. And everyone's like, oh, piss mouth. And I think if someone called me piss mouth, I would actually just die. I would like Thanos snap into oblivion. I'd just be like, oh, I no longer exist. Please no longer perceive me. But the clock strikes midnight. Everyone is kissing except for Eli, and he's just like, sick. Love this. But Danny looks over and he sees his friend and he's like, you know what? Bros before hoes. I got you, dude. I like when teen boys are allowed to just be friends with each other and they're not competitive or anything. They're just like absolute bros. But wait, what's this? The power goes down for a minute and everyone's like, oh, Y2K is real.
Y2K is real.
But when it comes back on, everyone's like, that was weird. And then screaming comes from upstairs. The whole party goes upstairs and they open a room where two people were hooking up and there's a dead body on the floor. The girl who survived this supposed attack, or might have killed him, is like the Tempur-Pedic-esque bed over here went all wonky and killed the guy. In typical shithead fashion, Stalker Chris is like, we can't call the cops. We can't do that. My parents are gonna kill me. Love teen logic. It's like, I can't call the cops because I'm scared. Then call the fire department. Then a Tamagotchi driving a battery-powered SUV enters the room and everyone's like, what the fuck is this shit? And one of Soccer Chris's boys, it's like, whoa, that's really cool. And then the Tamagotchi flamethrowers his face to death. Y2K is real, and everyone's freaking out because there's other robot creatures coming to life to murder them. Eli, Danny, and Laura are trying to escape to the garage, but the door is locked and they just can't get out. When a robot comes their way, Danny is like, oh, I got this, and stomps its ass to death. Then Fracas shows up and he's just like, oh, let's go through the garage if I just knock really hard. And one of his homies opens the door and he's like, what's up? I'm just chilling in this garage. I love CJ. This character, his name is CJ, who like lets everybody in, and he will become essential, and I love him. But he falls into the same category as like Farkas and all them, where they're all rappers. They're all white rappers. And I just really think that's the equivalent to dating a DJ, you know?
Death to all of them.
So the current group we have now is Eli, Laura, Danny, Farkas, CJ, and their videographer friend who's also really into Limp Bizkit, Ash. They all plan to go to this like hangout spot that Garrett invited the boys to earlier. And Laura already knows it because she's like, yeah, my ex-boyfriend goes there all the time. They think it'll be a good place to go because it's abandoned and it has like no tech whatsoever. So it's safe. Souped up with bikes, rollerblades, and skateboards, the gang is ready to roll out. But oh shit, Eli forgot his book bag. Thankfully, Danny's a real friend and goes, hey, your book bag. And then he gets stabbed by a robot through the door. As Eli is saying goodbye to his best friend, Danny gives Eli the condom and tells him to fuck it up. The gang has no choice but to leave Danny's dead body in the garage. R.I.P. a real king. Farkas, who is blading his heart out, goes to grind a pole that like fell over, you know, like a basketball hoop thing falls over and there's like a pole. And he's like, I'm going to grind that because I love to blade. Blade is a life. And he immediately falls and hits his head and dies. I think it's one of my favorite kills of this entire movie. I'm obsessed with how fast it is. So now we are down to 4 teens, which, yes, unfortunate, but necessary. I'm glad we don't have so many people to keep up with. As the teens are walking to the stoner hideaway, they look over to see that the entire town is in flames. They also look up to see planes crashing into each other, and I hate to say it, but I think those planes were just a year early. Come back in 2001, planes. Psh. At their stoner hideaway, Garrett is hosting, and the boys are ringing in the new year the right way. They have a ton of drugs and there is only 1 beer, so yes, get wild and also dehydrated. But Laura is pumped because her ex, Jonas, played by Mason Gooding, I gasped when I saw him. He is there and things are looking up. They're just like, we can kiss and escape the apocalypse. Then Jonas goes, wait, what was that? And he pulls in a computer robot that has been creeping on them for a while, and he's like, what is this? And Eli's like, that's my personal computer. So the gang ties up the computer and their whole plan is to hack it to see what the actual bug is that is causing the Y2K apocalypse. Thankfully, they're able to do that because Laura's a computer whiz. She's like, I don't know, I've never tried hacking something. And Jonas was like, yeah, isn't that like a little advanced for you? Jonas, Nobody asked for your opinion. Get out of here. I love a little bit of 2000s misogyny. It really makes me feel angry. But Laura isn't a punk ass bitch, and so she hacks that computer so quickly, and they find a video that explains to them what the Y2K phenomenon is, you know? Turns out that there's a source that has sent a bug out to all the electronics in the area, and it's telling them to either kill or capture the humans. If they capture the humans, they have to bring them to the school, you know, the one that we saw earlier with the super internet coming into it, and they're going to implant chips into their brain a la Simpson style. And while the group is chatting about like, oh, so what should we do next? The computer breaks free and starts choking Laura out. Jonas tries to kill the bot, but then the bot goes boom, slap. Jonas down for the count. Eli goes to kill it, but then the computer starts showing him memories of his dead friend and is like, remember how your friend died? Isn't that so sad? And Eli's like, I'm feeling sentimental, but like also this is like a bigger problem. And he takes the bong that is like on the floor because, you know, stoners, and just dumps that dirty ass water all over his laptop. Sorry, not laptop, personal computer. But all this is too much for Eli. His dream girl's ex-boyfriend is here. He just had to kill his personal computer and his best friend is dead. This man has nothing to live for. Also, I think this location is the same location they used in the 1990s movie Mermaids. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I feel like I'm right. Until IMDb comes out with the locations of where this movie was shot, I'm gonna say that I am right. Eli recruits Ash and CJ to come help him, and they have been trauma bonding through weed and rapping. Guys, there's a lot of rapping in this movie. Laura stays back because everyone's like, you're popular and you don't care about us, so stay safe. And she's like, okay, weird. This is like I'm feeling very attacked. I'm feeling very othered. But it's a good thing she stays back because she uses a personal computer, brings it back to life, and then somehow goes clickety clickety, boom, I'm in. And she hacks the computer and finds a way to defeat the virus. So she offloads her like virus saver onto a thumb drive and she goes to meet up with the gang. Amazingly, this movie has no interest in exploring what hacking is or what it looks like, very much in the same way that Swordfish wasn't interested in it, and I really appreciate it. All you computer nerds out there are just like, this isn't right. This like really frustrates me, and I do not know what to tell you. This is a stoner comedy. Don't expect much. Realizing that the men are holding her back, Laura goes to reunite with the gang. We got our core four. We love to see them. She also brings Garrett with her because he's like, no way will a lady go out in the apocalypse alone. Let me escort you. The group hits a bit of a snag in their plan. They're at a playground and they kind of are surrounded by like a fenced-in area, and they're just like, oh, that's not good. To make matters worse, a giant robot's right behind them and is ready to like saw them to death. Luckily for them, Garrett and Laura just showed up in time. Garrett goes to distract the robot in an epic fight battle that's very kung fu-esque, but unfortunately for Garrett, he does get chopped up pretty immediately. His arm just goes lobbed off. His head gets severed, and guys, I hope one day that I get to be in a horror movie so that way my head gets severed and I get to like keep it on a shelf behind me. That's all I'm asking for. Needing to get out of there, the core four jump into a porta potty and they're just like, this is the safest place to be, a porta potty on a hill. The robot tips over the porta potty. We never saw that coming. As you know, when a porta potty does get tipped over, it's pretty funny because it does go flying. And for some reason, Mooney decided that this was the moment that Laura and Eli are gonna lock eyes and really have a moment as she just like spews all over them. And it is pretty amazing. But this moment of realization doesn't last long because after they all get out of the porta potty and kind of just realize that they're covered in shit, Eli's having a shitty time. He has like a very teen reaction to like the apocalypse just being a major inconvenience in his love life. But they kind of calm down and they are back on the mission. As they're walking back to town, they're killing a little bit of time by singing Knocked Down by Chumbawamba, a forever classic if you ask me. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I also believe that Rachel Zegler has that same kind of contract that Zooey Deschanel has, where she has to sing in every single movie or show she's in. I don't mind it sometimes, but other times I'm like, okay, this is too much singing. This is too much singing. Too many songs. God, the fucking Hunger Games movie she was in. So many songs. Back at the video store, the gang is searching for something to help them along the way, and guess who they run into? Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. Apparently, he watched his entire bandmates and all of his fans get murdered at a concert that was happening and just ran to the video store for safety. Laura tells the gang about her like plan to stop the cyberbug, and Fred Durst is like, that is the worst plan I've ever heard, and you are going to die. But like, what else are they gonna do? Trust that the government's gonna solve the problem? No. The police? They can barely find a guy who shot a CEO in broad daylight. Like, what makes you think that they're gonna be able to solve this problem? Like, ACAB for sure, so I'm gonna put my faith in these teens. But Ash restores Faith and Fred Durst, and she's like, you're fucking Limp Bizkit, dude. Like, get your shit together. And the gang is like, great. So now Fred Durst is part of our gang. At the school, the gang is able to get in unnoticed thanks to a key that Eli has like left in a grate because he kept forgetting his key at home. Now in the school, they're like walking through the hallway and they notice a bunch of people just kind of like meandering in the cafeteria. It turns out these people have the chips implanted into them. What I also love about this movie is that you can tell that like there's not enough extras. And so they're really trying to make spaces feel full, but they always feel like kind of empty. And I'm a little bit obsessed. It's like such a fun visual quirk. Fred Durst isn't paying attention when a disc-throwing robot enters and tries to kill him. And CJ's like, no, and jumps in front of Fred Durst and sacrifices himself as discs get lodged into his face. It's really giving the same cover as Magdalena Bay, you know, where she's like, CJ dies slowly, quickly but slowly, and he goes out with a rap flow that brings a tear to Fred Durst's eyes. R.I.P. CJ, you will be missed. But guys, we have a robot overlord to overthrow. We have no time to mourn. In the gym, Fred Durst has to get everyone's attention with some really bad crowd work, and you know what? He does it because everyone's pissed. Laura and Eli are in the back trying to hack the mainframe, but then Eli gets distracted because he's sentimental about his parents getting chipped, and he's like, oh, that fucking sucks. But we do get to see what it's like to be chipped, and guys, I hate to say it, but I think we're headed that way and I'm not upset about it. Like, it's not a bad thing to be like plugged in online, because like, aren't we always plugged in online? But they're also making it with like the Neuralink chip, right? So like, we are headed that way. You know who could hack that with no problem? Laura. She's like, I'm in. And she goes to plug in the thumb drive with the virus fighting like situation on, and she gets shocked and she's like, I can't get in there. And we get to see what the evil robot overlord looks like, and he's like, get fucked, and speeds up his whole world domination plan. How does he actually do it in real life? We don't ever see it. We don't have time to explain. We don't care. We're just, you know, we're speeding up the clock. The world is almost about to end, and Eli's like, you know what? And he pulls out his condom and he's like, this is gonna work. He's like, safety first, and then he puts the condom onto Laura's hand, and she's like, oh, that makes sense, for protection. And she's able to stick her little hand in there because I had the latex. I guess you can't like electrocute latex. But Laura's able to stick her hand in there and plug in her virus fighting thing and save the day. It's really fun to like talk about a very tech heavy movie and not know the words for technology. The day saved by two teens who are ready to fall in love, and a condom gifted by a dead friend. Everyone hugs, they lightly grieve their losses, and Laura and Eli get to share a kiss in the morning light in a new, safe world. But the movie's not over yet. Flash forward 5 years. Ash, Laura, and Eli all arrive to a cemetery. They're there to say hi to Danny and catch him up on everything that we've missed. Eli now runs a music blog. Laura works for Fred Durst's tech company because apparently after this whole thing, he became like the Elon Musk of that timeline. And Ash is just existing. She really doesn't get much like fleshing out, you know? The film ends with Ash calling out Laura for removing her from her top 8 on MySpace, and a tech virus making one last appearance on Ash's iPod Classic, the Y2K. I think this is a very fun movie. It's very easy. It's very light. It's a stoner comedy. Like, what else could you want from this? I really enjoy it. Is it cinema? No. Guys, come on. But is it like a really fun watch and a very good time? Hell yeah, brother. Also, I just want this poster in my life. Like, look at this poster. That's so cool. But I really love this movie. I mean, it's a B movie that gets a B from me. I really do recommend that you watch this movie if you ever get the chance to go see it. If not, it'll be on streaming soon, so don't worry. But it's a great classic that doesn't waste your time, which also great pacing. If you know me, I've been having an issue with pacing this year, and this is good. This works. But if you have any other thoughts about Y2K, let me know in the comments, but leave a like, subscribe, you know, do the whole 9 yards. I really appreciate it. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.